I'm not black. I'm Dominican. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm not black. Be looking just like me.
So it was 2020 and the world was going crazy. It was in the middle of us fighting each other for toilet paper. Wild times. I woke up to a meme from a friend. And the meme was the comedian Godfrey. And he was essentially making fun of Dominicans about their belief of them not being black. At the beginning, like everybody else, I found it funny. But it honestly hit a little too close to home. Because I grew up in the Dominican Republic. So for me, it wasn't just the I am not black term. It was the memories that came in when I remember the amount of colorism which I grew up around. A lot of people are gonna say things like, yes, they are. Obviously, Dominicans are black. What if they don't consider themselves black? Do you have the right to call them black if they don't believe themselves to be black? And what is blackness at the end of the day? So you have to start really from the beginning of why Dominicans don't think they're black and what blackness means in this case. Now, this is super important because in reality, this is not only about Dominicans. In order to understand why Dominicans are so disconnected from their perceived blackness, you gotta think about when Christopher Columbus reached the Hispaniola, which is now known as the Dominican Republic. And it was 1492. The island was first populated by Taínos. And once Christopher Columbus made a connection and made Taínos slaves and brought Africans into the island, it became a mixture of cultures, identities. If you think about it, the Dominican Republic has been disenfranchised for over 500 years at this point. And if you try to make them remember their own African connection, a lot of them are not gonna understand that they actually do have a connection to Africa as a whole. The Dominican Republic is populated by, of course, black people and a racial ethnic group called mestizos, which is basically the mixed folks. Now, if you speak to a regular Dominican, they don't see that divide because most of them are mestizo and their African culture or expression is not really there in the day-to-day. They don't understand what is representation in that sense, despite the fact that literally mangú or putting bananas on your rice, it derives from African culture. So here is the thing. If you are in the United States and you have African descent, you are black by default. That's the framework. However, in the Dominican Republic, due to the fact that everybody has African descent, it makes it a little bit more complicated. Mestizos are a mix of European, African, and the Taino. And because of that, Dominicans do not place themselves as just Africans, because there are so many other areas of Dominican culture as a whole. So that is the real problem. The fact that people outside of the Dominican are talking about race, while in the Dominican Republic we're talking about ethnicity. We're not even having the same conversations. Like, how could you? People in the Dominican don't understand race. We actually have even more conversations about religion because we're so religious, specifically Christianity, to the point that we are the only country with a Bible on the flag. What's crazy about all this is that when I went through the Dominican education system, we were actually not taught that Christopher Columbus did anything bad in the island. We were pushed to kind of see him as somebody who brought salvation and brought gifts and made everything better. We still have a lot of mines in the Dominican Republic, gold mines specifically, and this guy came in, gave Taínos mirrors in exchange for their gold, went back to Spain and made business. Crazy. Thinking about it further, like, what does that do to people when they do not know who their oppressor is? Despite the fact that the Haitian Revolution actually helped Dominican Republic become an independent country, they do not see Haitians as their own brothers or sisters, which is crazy to me. While I was in Dominican Republic, I never learned about this. And it's interesting because I actually never thought about these ideas until I left the Dominican Republic. And people started asking serious questions or historical questions and that I couldn't even answer. Apart from all the historical wars, Dominican Republic had a civil war. At the end of the day, despite the fact that our civil war was not related to race, it showed how the Dominican Republic is so extremely colorist. It's not a surprise that the upper class was mainly fair-skinned folks, and the lower class was mainly populated by black skin and mestizos. In the early 1900s, as more Dominicans left the island and explored the world, they realized that they had a responsibility to other black communities and countries. A lot of Dominicans ended up being key parts of the Black Panther Party. Also, others helped Martin Luther King on his work during that time. In 1927, Marcus Garvey actually visited Dominican Republic and basically did a tour. During this time, he just wanted to connect with the people, and they welcomed him with open arms. At the end of the day, the internet did something, connecting nations that before hadn't seen eye to eye. It helped us learn from one another, but also put things into perspective. Like a regular Dominican would say that, you know, they're not black until they see pictures of their grandmother, and then see pictures of a grandma in Nigeria and realize that they got the same hair. So how can you deny it? So where are we now? 600 years of colonization. These people do not know who they are or where they come from. They have been sold, force-fed this idea of colorism, in which, by the way, they still believe today. They are told that their own neighbors, another black country, is their enemy, another ally against oppression and colonization. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's shame. I do not think it's avoidance. I think it generally boils down to lack of education. I don't think most Dominicans know the historical lineage of where they come from. Because if they did, they would understand that ultimately they had somewhat of a responsibility to join together and to fight upwards instead of sideways. So to answer the question, Dominicans are black, and the history proves it. It just got buried by 600 years of manufactured division. And finally, my people are waking back up and digging it out. So for the ones doing the real work, thank you so much. Hold it down.